This is a quick lesson on scales in thirds, sixths, octaves, and tenths. And this comes from my new technique book, so you can find a link for that under the video. But you can watch the video for free. So this section of the book comes after all the finger independence exercises, where we really worked different combinations of fingers. But a more natural way of practicing these finger independence exercises on the guitar and alignment exercises that are good for your technique are to practice your scales in thirds and sixths and octaves as well as tenths. Thirds are going to create very compact shapes on the guitar that will really force students to curve their fingers and play on their fingertips. If they don't, they'll accidentally mute strings out. You have to be on your fingertips. Some teachers will assign thirds just to help their students get on their fingertips and curve those fingers. It kind of naturally makes them do that. What I'll first do is I'll just talk about ways to practice these, and then I'll go over just the C major examples and one chromatic octave example just to give you an idea of what to look for and what to expect. And then you can go ahead and practice many other scales on your own. So first thing, I would practice all of the scales in two different ways. The first way, in solid form. There's many different fingerings you could use in the right hand, but I'm just using IM right now. But just solid blocks of thirds. The second way that you want to practice these are broken thirds. That just takes the two-note shape and breaks them up. When you play the solid shape, you learn these block-shaped chords, so like 2 fingers at a time. It's very good for your knowledge of the thirds, and good for just like 2-finger independence. When you play them one at a time, you can actually get one note at a time and let them sustain, which may equal a more legato sound. And of course, broken thirds happen a lot in repertoire, especially in things like Giuliani and late classical stuff. The last thing to look for when you're playing these is guide fingers. So in the first example, for example, when we slide a finger up, we don't actually have to take it off the string. So the second finger is a guide finger. You want to look for that in general, places where you can keep your fingers down. Now, we'll start with the thirds, which will be a small shape on the guitar, but as we get to the sixths, octaves, and tenths, the shapes will increase. So it kind of becomes an increasing reach exercise or stretch exercise in the left hand. So C major in thirds, once we put 2 octaves in, we have to kind of go up, higher up on the guitar, making shifts a big part of it as well. I'll also just say that you want to know your order of major and minor in the harmonized major scale. So for example, it always starts with major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. And you want to just make sure that you know that order, because it'll be kind of make it more clear to memorize and whatnot. But that said, you can study that separately. For now, we'll just be going over the shapes. So C major in thirds, and again, just remember to stay on your fingertips, keep your hand relatively aligned, look for guide fingers. So this kind of combines a lot of different things that we've studied. Our hand position, shifts, guide fingers, and then just like having a compact technique, keeping your fingers aligned, your knuckles aligned with the strings, involves a lot of different things, right? When we go to C major in sixths, the stretch is just a little increased. So suddenly the shape is just a little bit bigger, right? So very similar exercise. So you have to stay on your fingertips still, make sure that you're not muting out strings, but the stretch is just a little bit bigger. For the octaves, let's do a E chromatic scale in octaves. This is one of my favorite exercises for sure because it really works the finger independence. And in a way, I prefer to do this compared to a lot of exercises for finger independence. It's just more, it works the brain a little bit more. You can definitely do it without using the music. You can just do it by knowing what note comes next, right? If you've studied books such as Pumping Nylon, you know the spider exercise and stuff like that. This is very similar to that, except it's in a more traditional musical format, right? Like a chromatic scale, which offers up like some difficulties. Like you'll have to do this kind of shift. So it's not like a uniform pattern completely. You'll have all these different combinations. So again, it's a great way to combine the different things that we've learned. When you go into C major in tenths, the stretch is just increased a little bit more, but it's not that difficult necessarily. In some ways it's a little bit easier, but it's very open, so if you have trouble with like reach and whatnot, you might find just a couple of the shapes a little bit challenging. Just make sure that you're keeping your hand very aligned the whole time, letting the fingers do all the work. Now, I've listed many different keys that you can cover, and each key is going to give you like a different little difficulty to work with. But that's the basic idea, is you just want to work all of those with the good hand positions that we've talked about previously, and then you have lots of different combinations in a very traditional musical context.